Previously on Tomb of Annihilation. After making a deal with the powerful primordial Korsuth in order to save his life, Tethys continues his journey through the wilderness, uncertain of what the consequences of such a deal might be. He and Ars struggle their way onwards towards Camp Vengeance, the Order of the Gauntlet stronghold within the jungle. Fortune struck, however, when they stumbled upon Vaughn, an abandoned magical shield guardian who now fights by their side. Miles and miles away, the main adventuring party travelled back to the city of Port Nyanzaru, only to discover that they are wanted men by the Flaming Fist. Given a place to discreetly stay by the Zentarim Guild, they set about searching for a way to magically communicate with their lost companions. They need money to achieve this, and the best way to make some is to track down the Cholton pirates at their secret lair. Welcome back, everybody, to our narrated retelling of Tomb of Annihilation, Part 11, Into Hostile Waters. If you are enjoying the series, please be sure to leave a like, a subscribe, and leave a comment on what you would like to see more of on this channel. Also, please give a follow on social media, Instagram, TikTok, Reddit, at Stories from the Big Chair to stay on top of all the latest updates. Thank you. But for now, enjoy the story. The breaking of dawn is accompanied by the cawing of birds, the screeching of dinos and other large creatures, and the pathetic wailing of the undead. Tethys props himself up on his elbows and lets out a deep sigh. It is the first morning in a long time that he has awoken in a place where he feels some semblance of safety, and even more so, a sense of calm. He feels a light touch caress his back. What's the story here? The gentle voice of Undril Silvertusk breaks through the silence as her fingers cascade over his skin, rising and falling over a myriad of old scars and bruises. I see them as a reminder, Tethys quietly replies. A reminder of my mission. Tethys tells her how, after his accident as a child, burning down the Shrine of Hor in his upbringing northern village of Kelb, he was taken in by the Order of the Gauntlet to pay his dues, much to the protestations of his mother, the only person who had stuck by him his entire life. He was taken from his family to a fortress named Hawk's Nest, where he was made steward for Knight Argent Sale. Sale was a cruel master who predominantly exercised the harsh and brutal nature of Hor's tenants as a god of wrath. Tethys endured years of abuse and humiliation at the hands of Sale. Menial and degrading labor, isolation and forced silence, regular beatings for insolence. He even stripped away his name, calling him Tethys, his surname, a name that eventually stuck. Tethys was forced to exclusively study the teachings of Hor, so much to the point where he started to resent the god. His one solace, however, was the scribe of Hawk's Nest, Colm Drury, who offered Tethys minimal rights, wages, study time, and someone to actually talk to. However, Argent Sale was not happy at Tethys' too much time studying, so, at the age of 15, he was thrust into combat training. Thrown in head first, combat was grueling, and the physical trauma that he had endured caused him to be labelled as weak. All too often he was sent on solo missions into the snow, ventures that he was sure Argent Sale had sent him on in the hopes that he would not return. But against all odds, Tethys always survived. He would not let the tyrant posing as a do-gooding man win. The worst thing Sale made him do, however, came about a year later. The one act that finally broke him. Before he gets the chance to finish his story, Undril is called to continue her work in the hospital tent. Tethys reconvenes with Ars that morning as the two of them begin to plan their next steps. They meet with Captain Pern Salhana, the second in command. She tells them that their travelling companions arrived a few days ago with a bunch of goblin children. Weird. Whilst here, they spoke with Commander Breakbones, who had sent them on a task back to Port Nyanzaru. They had agreed to return to Camp Vengeance soon, but the timing of it is uncertain. Not wanting to sit on their asses, twiddling their thumbs, waiting for the others to return, the two of them agree to meet with Commander Breakbones themselves. The gruff, unwelcoming aura of the dishevelled leader of the Gauntlet's forces is slightly less abrasive this time round, attributed entirely to Tethys' existing place within the Order. "I'm glad you're here, Cheval. We need all the help we can get." Rather than barking commands at them, Commander Breakbones asks for their aid in the Gauntlet's plight. Their chief concern is striking back against the numerous undead. He wants Ars and Tethys to lead a strike force out into the jungle and to waste as many of those ungodly abominations as they can. I have a suggestion, Ars chips in. When I visited the Mages Guild back in Port Nyanzaru, they mentioned a place called Mesro, an ancient city that now lies ruined in the jungle, but one which supposedly holds an immense concentration of undead. Perhaps we should take our strike team there. An excellent idea, the commander responds, if you think you're up to the challenge. A deal is struck. They play their part in furthering the Gauntlet's mission, and the Gauntlet allows them refuge and resources for any future adventures. Wasting no time, they are sent on their way. Tethys is sure to bid farewell to Undril, and Ars makes sure that Vaughn is ready in Raring. They know the location of Mesro lies to the northeast. To avoid having to cross the river Tariki, they will march due east past the river, then begin northwards towards their destination. And with that, they set off. A few days transpire as they confidently stride onwards, Ars fully believing that, with Vaughn by their side, no challenge the jungle throws at them will be too great. They are joined on this expedition by a strike team composed of 4 Gauntlet soldiers from the mainland, named Arbalest, Kayla, Zal, and Ro, and 4 Cholton warriors who have formed an alliance with the Gauntlet to help cleanse the jungles, their names being Belkasam, Itundi, Delphas, and Atalwe, all of whom prove to be capable warriors, steadfast, stoic, and deathly loyal to the cause. They follow Tethys' orders when commanded, and keep a wary eye on the taciturn wizard and his hulking mechanical pet. Over the next few days, the newly formed strike team begins their trek through the uncharted land. Traversing east of the river Soshenstar enters them into an area of the jungle with a much higher concentration of undead, as marked on the map here, as well as no shortage of other threats. Fighting off small hordes of zombies and skeletons proves no match for them. Their first real challenge, however, comes during an amicable parley with a genial stegosaurus which approached the travellers with curiosity, an encounter that was cut short by a screeching pack of velociraptors which, although being put down, still cost them one of their own, as Yutundi met her end in the jaws of one of the small dinos. After a couple days of travel, they eventually reach the banks of the river Tariki. The native Cholton warriors in their party tell them that the Tariki is considered to be the most dangerous river in Cholt, thanks to its frequent waterfalls, steep cliffsides, and an abundance of jungle predators, namely undead, terrafolk, and grung. Nevertheless, one could not argue with the river's beauty. The dangers may be vast, but the jungle never ceases to be a marvel on the eyes. Rather than risk crossing the river, they head south, hoping to circle around the mouth before getting back on track. Reaching the end of the river, they are stopped by a gruesome sight. The bloated corpse of a dead halfling, riddled with tiny arrows and dangling from a tree vine. Belkasam approaches the body and investigates one of the small arrows. "This is grung work," he says to the others. "This man likely trespassed on their territory. This has been left here as a warning." Delphas goes on to say that he is aware that the grung have a stronghold near here. They should steer well clear of it and keep their heads down. Tethys' ears perk up, however. "A grung stronghold?" he asks, remembering that his task from his saviour Korsuth was to retrieve a ring from a grung stronghold. Though he tries to argue that it would be a good idea to check this place out, the others disagree. They were set to travel to Mesro, so that is where they are going. That afternoon, however, sees things go from not great to bad, then from bad to worse, and finally from worse to terrible. They are initially attacked by some unforgiving ogre zombies. The fight leaves them weary, so they decide to rest up for the night. This is when they really start to feel the jungle getting the better of them. See, way back in Port Nyanzaru, towards the start of their adventure, Revna, their elf companion, had purchased from the Grand Sook plentiful vials of insect-repelling balm used to ward off nasty critters, which the party had thoroughly administered to their skin at the start of each day within the jungle. Now that Revna was gone, they had no such repellent to protect them from the creepy crawlies and the numerous diseases they are often known to carry. For Tethys, This was no problem at all, because as a faithful paladin, he has a built-in immunity to such diseases. The same cannot be said, however, for Ars and the rest of their travelling companions. The sound of retching and vomiting was becoming commonplace around camp, and restful night's sleep amidst the unrelenting wilderness were becoming more and more scarce. They have been exposed to something called shivering sickness. Its symptoms include blurred vision, disorientation, and a sudden drop in body temperature that causes uncontrollable shivering and the chattering of teeth. People's exhaustion is increasing, and the jungles of Chult are showing no signs of laying off. It all came to a climax the following day, however, as in the morning, as the strike team were packing up camp and discussing their trajectory for the day, they noticed all too late a strange bank of blue mist drifting through the camp. Arbalest, Kayla, and Ars were all already fully engulfed by the mist by the time someone shouted, "Mad monkey mist! Run!" Escaping the ever-drifting cloud was easy enough, but for the 3 people who had been initially caught in it, it was already too late. Kayla's body starts trembling and twitching erratically, her eyes wide, filled with madness. Where am I? Who are you? Arbalest starts shouting to the rest of the group. And Ars? Ars's eyes roll to the back of his head, and he collapses. Try as they might, nothing they do is able to wake him. Through the chaos that ensues, Belkacem explains that they have been afflicted by mad monkey fever, carried by mad monkey mist. It drives people insane. The only hope for them now is to try and wait it out and hope that the madness runs its course. As if that was not enough to deal with, Tevis and the gang are then stunted by a loud boom. It sounds like large footsteps, followed by the forceful parting of trees. With no time to seek shelter, a chill fills the air. The trees nearby part, and loudly stepping into view, a winter white wolf the size of a small house, followed closely by a huge blue-skinned man wielding a massive axe. Frost giants. Miles upon miles away, we turn our gaze now to the capital city of Port Nyanzaru. The gorgeous metropolis shines golden hues over buildings sparkling with vibrant colours as the crowds of townsfolk go about their busy day-to-day lives. The sound of chanting reverberates around the room, married with the sound of goblets chinking and the aroma of spiced wines, hoppy beers, and exotic ales which fill the main floor of the Thundering Lizard Inn. To psych themselves up and prepare for their upcoming quest, Bori the fighter, Revna the ranger, and Bumble the druid have gone to the inn to fill their bellies and liaise with River Mist and Flask of Wine, the 2 sibling Tabaxi wilderness guides who hold an alliance with the Zentrim Guild. They all are keeping a low profile by hanging out in crowded places to avoid the eyes of the Flaming Fist who are currently after them. See, earlier that day, the group decided that, in order to get their hands on some money, they would follow up on the Zentrim's request to storm the base of the Chultan pirates that have been plaguing the waters for seafarers. The Zentrim do not have the numbers or resources to head up such a mission, so it is down to the party to take lead.
Your best bet is to hire the Brazen Pegasus. Our organization will cover the costs. The sailors aboard are worthy fighters too.
You! A booming voice echoes from the indoor balcony above them, as a muscular figure leaps down to where the party is sitting, shattering the table to splinters as they land. Rising from the rubble, the unmistakable face of Taban the Gladiator stands before them. Reaching for their weapons, the gladiator raises his hands. "Wait," he says as they hesitate. "I am not here to fight you."
Then what the hell are you doing?
Bori scoffs. "You bested me. Twice. To bring such shame to a gladiator, one must regain his honor. And who is more worthy to show me the way than those who beat me? My blade is yours." He kneels before them. The 3 of them stand, aghast.
Are you sure?
Bumble breaks the silence. Taban rises to his feet again. "Absolutely, little magic goblin," he says. "I will fight by your side and protect you with my life, if you would do me the honor." "We gladly accept." Revna takes his hand. "Now we had better get out of here. This has probably brought us a lot of attention." Speedily slinking their way through the busy streets, they eventually end up in the dry docks, staring up at a magnificent vessel. The Brazen Pegasus sits low in the water, a well-travelled merchant vessel whose sun-bleached hull bears the scrapes and salt stains of 100 voyages, as well as the buckles and holes of nautical combat. Her figurehead, a rearing Pegasus cast in tarnished bronze, catches the light as she rolls on the swell, wings outstretched as if ready to leap free from the sea entirely. The sails are a warm ochre, patched in places but full-bellied in a good wind, and the smell of spice and timber oil hang around the dock like an old memory. "Oi, she's the finest vessel this side of the shining sea!" the enigmatic and gregarious captain announces as the adventurers make their way on board. Captain Autumn Swiftendark, a gnome swashbuckler, standing barely 3 feet tall and wearing finely crafted red and silver leather garbs, adorned with an impressive bronze spyglass at her hip. She introduces them also to the first mate, Grig Ruddle, a hulking man of few words whose face is almost hidden by a heavy beard streaked with grey. There are 6 other sailors aboard the Pegasus, all of whom are willing to help in any way they can, although the well-being of the ship is their primary concern. Telling Captain Swiftendark of their mission ignites a spark of enthusiasm from the sturdy gnome. The pirates have caused great difficulties for her trade, which Bori fully suspects is smuggling, and so seeing them vanquished benefits her too. They give her the destination, and she keenly begins barking orders at the sailors to set sail for the western coast of Chult. For days, the Brazen Pegasus carves its way through the turquoise water that hugs the coast of Chult, its timbers groaning beneath the endless push of wind and wave. To port side, the jungle rises like a living wall, dense, steaming, and impossibly green. Towering cliffs break through the canopy in places, their blank stone faces lashed by crashing waves, while clouds of strange birds wheel overhead with shrill, distant cries. The voyage, aboard the fine merchant's vessel, passes beneath broad skies and favourable winds. Most days the sea is kind. Long rolling swells carrying the ship steadily southward, while warm salt air fills the sails with a steady breath. Flying fish scatter like silver arrows across the waves, and now and again dark shapes breach in the distance. Dolphins pacing the bow, or something much larger disappearing beneath the water before anyone can name it. At night, the ocean glows faintly with a pale blue bioluminescence, the ship's wake trailing light across the Black Sea like a scar. Yet for all the beauty of the journey, there is little peace aboard the vessel. Every sailor on the Brazen Pegasus knows these waters are dangerous. Eyes are always fixed on the horizon. The lookout scans each stretch of coastline for unnatural movement between the cliffs. The deckhands lower their voices whenever unfamiliar sails appear in the distance. Even Captain Swiftendark keeps charts and spyglasses close at hand, wary of reefs, ambushes, and hidden coves where pirate ships might lie waiting beneath false colours. The coast of Chult itself feels alive with threat. Dense jungle presses right to the edge of the sea in many places, tangled mangroves clawing out into the water like grasping fingers. Strange cries drift on the wind at odd hours, animal sounds perhaps, though some are unsettlingly human. More than once, the party spots smoke rising from somewhere deep inland, only for it to vanish moments later behind a canopy. And so, the days settle into a rhythm of cautious anticipation. Calm seas, steady wind, hands resting never too far from weapons, because out here, danger rarely announces itself until it is already too close. Their numerous days of patience eventually pay off, however, as they begin honing in on their destination. As the Pegasus saunters its way towards the coastline, it is enveloped by a steaming mist that wafts over the water like a wayward cloud. Tensions grow high, and Bori takes a deep breath, thinking that the mist might be some kind of gaseous pirate trick. Captain Swiftendark explains to them that in order to reach the anchorage where the pirate base supposedly lies, one must first travel through Jahaka Bay. The River Tath plunges down multiple waterfalls before spilling into this area, so the mist from these falls perpetually drifts out from the river mouth and across the bay. Perfect place for a pirate hideout, come to think of it, she muses. The mist is not particularly heavy, but vision is still dangerously restricted, so they take things slow, gradually inching closer towards the bay. It is not long through their tedious crawl when the Brazen Pegasus draws unwanted attention.
Starboard! We've got company!
One of the crewmen yells as, creeping through the mist like a tiger stalking its prey, the figurehead of a mermaid wearing a bizarre necklace materializes into view. It is only when it moves closer that they spot the black sails flying overhead and realize the bizarre necklace around the mermaid is composed of the decapitated heads of men and women. This shocking revelation is joined by a chorus of yells, chanting, and grunting as a crew of filthy scallywags can be seen atop the ship. Most of them are shirtless and wielding axes and swords. Gruesome grins grow across their faces, displaying a myriad of rotting teeth, interspersed with beautiful green gemstone fillings. The name Emerald Eye is plastered across the side of the vessel, painted on just beneath a collection of cannons that are aiming right at them. Without so much as even a demand for surrender, the pirates of the Emerald Eye roar to the sky and unleash hell upon the brazen Pegasus. As cannonballs fly, tearing through the mantle of the Pegasus and seeing the splinters of wood send some of their crew flying off the side of the ship, the party springs into action. Taban leads the charge, grabbing a hold of a loose rope and swinging across to the Emerald Eye. He begins tearing through the pirates with reckless abandon. Captain Swift and Dark and First Mate Grig Ruddle start returning fire with their own artillery, causing huge explosions across both ships. Bumble runs to cover and uses her druid magic to cast the spell Spike Growth, causing a bunch of spikes to appear on the hull of the pirate ship, piercing the attacking scoundrels from below and slowing their approach. Revner gets himself to a good vantage point, climbing halfway up the netting of the ship's mast. Carefully entangling himself in the rope net so as to not fall, he begins picking the pirates off one by one with his arrows. He sends his panther Kabali across to the other ship to assist Taban on his onslaught. Though they are surrounded by mist, they are still able to see things that are relatively close by. Bori, who had already climbed up to the crow's nest to get a better look at the oncoming ship, begins precariously balancing himself across the mast, waiting for the two ships to be completely side by side. He is not waiting long, and as the wooden beams holding the sails of the Emerald Eye draw closer, he leaps across, landing on them and coming face to face with a huge tattooed berserker pirate.
Let's have it then, you ugly bastard!
Bori cries before the two of them draw steel. Bumble eventually leaps over to the pirate ship too, where she comes face to face with the ship's captain. Captain Zaroom Al-Sayak is a rotund and grotesque-looking man with greasy long hair, far too many chins, and a large nose. He hails from the deserts of Kalasham and clearly possesses a fondness for gemstones. He wears a long trench coat glistening with them, looking like they have been sewn into the lining, and wields a scimitar with gemstones embroidered into the hilt. Most notably, a large scar in the shape of an X covers his left eye. The eye itself is missing, but in its place now lies a glowing red gem. He scurries his way down to the main deck and draws his fine sword.
Your heads will make fine additions to my ship,
he chuckles.
Oh, shut it, you wanker!
Bumble yells back before wild-shaping herself once again into a rampaging bear. The grin on Captain Al-Sayak's face noticeably disappears. As more blood is shed, the scales of the fight are certainly tipped in favor of our heroes. The addition of Taban fighting on their side means the pirate thugs barely even get a chance to load up another cannonball before being stuck through by a spear like a hog on a spit. Things are not going quite so well for Bori, however, as he and the berserker pirate continue to scuffle. Needless to say, what with Bori's squat stature and large hammer, balancing on a thin beam high above a moving sea vessel is not an area of expertise for him. The berserker grabs him in a chokehold, and the runes across Bori's weapon and armor begin to glow blue. Bori laughs.
Been wanting to do this for a while,
he says before his footing gives way, sending both him and the pirate cascading down and landing in the water with a loud splash. Revner's heart skips a beat. The last time Bori fell into a body of water, he almost drowned. As the fight goes on around him, he watches with bated breath. Suddenly, an almighty crash erupts from the water, rupturing the underside of the Emerald Eye and launching planks of wood across the misty sea. Rising from the water, Bori emerges, but not as we know him. A giant Bori clambers aboard, standing 8 feet tall and now wielding a hammer the size of a fully grown man. He swings it down upon the gobsmacked Captain Al-Saryak, who, through sheer force, is embedded into the wooden planks of the ship. His chest concaves in so hard that his ribs pierce through his own back. Both the crew and passengers of the Brazen Pegasus look up to the massive dwarf that looms above them, with both awe and terror. Not a single pirate remains alive. The Emerald Eye has been conquered. 2 down, 1 to go. Thank you everybody for watching until the end of the video, and an especially big thank you to those of you who have stuck with the series, even after the long gap between the previous video and this one. My sincerest apologies for the wait there. Now next time, with one more pirate captain to take down, the main party make it to Jahaka Anchorage and encounter some rather unexpected things hidden within, whilst Tethys has the difficult job of handling the giants, getting everyone to the ruined city of Mesro in one piece, including the companions who have been driven insane, and dealing with some disturbing revelations made about ours. Thank you again to Theo at Mythos Music for the sublime soundtrack. Be sure to check out his channel and use his Cholton Jungle mixes in your campaigns too. Once again, thank you to all of you for the continued support, as, hey, things will only get crazier from here. I'll see you all in part 12.